moved to Dubai a year and a half ago, and if I can do it, you can do it. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can save thousands of dollars and avoid all the mistakes that I made when I first moved to Dubai. I've been living in Dubai for a while now, and boy oh boy has it been a ride. I honestly wish this video existed so then I had something or someone to guide me through a new life in Dubai. I literally had zero friends, zero family, no one that I could rely on when I first moved. But lucky for you, you have me, so let's start from the beginning. Firstly, you'll need a place to stay. I was staying in Airbnbs and hotels for my first 5 months, and this was such a bad idea. I spent so much money that I could have been saving, especially because this period was the peak season in Dubai and the prices skyrocket like mental. Now the peak season in Dubai is between about October to March, and this is essentially Dubai's winter. It's the busiest time of the year with Christmas and New Year's Eve. And based on this, the prices of hotels, Airbnbs, taxis, they all hike up. My first month in Dubai, I stayed in 2 different hotels. One was in downtown and the other was in the marina. And then September onwards, I started doing Airbnbs until January of this year, 2024. And then in January, I found out about monthly rentals. Now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, this girl is so stupid. Why didn't she just go get a yearly rental or a normal rental? And see, that's where you're wrong. Because you can't just get a yearly rental. You need an Emirates ID in order to be able to get a yearly rental. And back then I didn't have an Emirates ID because there's only a few ways you can get an Emirates ID, and one of it is through getting a job. And when I moved to Dubai, I didn't have a job. I didn't have plans. I moved here with 0 plans. Now, what's an Emirates ID, you may ask? No worries, I'll tell you. It's basically a proof of residency. It's a little card, and it just has your nationality, your date of birth, just your basic details, and it's just proof of residency that you live in the UAE. There's a handful of ways you can get an Emirates ID. One is a job. The second is through setting up your own business here and then sponsoring yourself. Another is to be just born into an Emirati family, which is probably very unlikely if you're watching this video. Another way is to actually purchase a property here worth over 2 million dirhams, and that'll get you a golden visa. Another option that you have is to get yourself a freelance visa. Now, when I first moved to Dubai, I was doing some freelance work for a few clients back home in Melbourne. So when the cold got to me in June last year, I was just not having it. So I booked my flights on the 1st of July and left the country a month later at the start of August. And so I moved here with 0 plans, 0 job, nothing, no friends, no family, absolutely nothing. My second option when I moved to Dubai was to actually get a freelance visa. But because I was so brand new to the country and I didn't know anyone, I knew that I didn't want to focus on doing freelance work. I actually wanted to get myself a job just so I can meet new people, experience the culture, network, and just put myself out there. So I started networking, I started applying for jobs, I was door knocking recruitment agencies, I was catching taxis in the heat, sweating. It was not a vibe. I really was in the trenches. Like, I just knew that I had to make this work. And I can't believe that I actually did all that, because when I got on that flight, leaving Melbourne, leaving Australia, I knew that I would have to do some really uncomfortable things. And I guess this was one of it, like sweating in a taxi in 40-degree heat, going to a recruitment agency, making sure I top up my perfume so I don't smell. It's just not a vibe. It's not a vibe, but you have to do what you have to do. I started messaging people. I researched communities and groups. I joined a girl group. Shout out to my girl Jay at HOS. I went to the gym and started talking to people at the gym. I was speaking to people at the shopping centers. I was just speaking with anyone, networking. Anyway, I continued working on finding myself something. I just knew for me, there was just no way that I was going to go back home without achieving what I had set my mind to achieve. At that point, if I took a flight back home, I had mentally told myself that I would be a failure if I just went home. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that, comes to Dubai and then doesn't work out and goes back home is a failure. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying that that's the kind of pressure that I put on myself. There was no plan B. There was only plan A. I had to make it work. People's circumstances change, dreams change, and I totally respect that. And Dubai is also not for everyone. When people do move here, they do miss their lifestyles back home, and of course their families. So I'm definitely not saying that if you go back home from Dubai, just because you changed your mind, you're a failure. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that for me, I knew that if I went back home, for me, I just didn't want to go back home as a failure. With that being said, I say networking is everything. You can have no degree and land a high-paying role just because of the way you network and the way you carry yourself. Now, as I continued day in, day out, there was this one job that just kept coming my way. A job that I did not want to embark on this early of living in Dubai, and that is a real estate agent. Back in Melbourne, everyone used to say you should do real estate, you'd be so good at it, blah, blah, blah. But there's just no way I'd be selling houses in Werribee. Do you know what I mean? It was definitely an ego thing as well, because I went to uni for 5 years and did a double degree. But to be a real estate agent, you don't actually need to go to uni. You can just do that straight out of high school. So I just definitely was not going to put my degree to no use. But then I started watching Selling Sunset, and who wouldn't want to sell $1 million homes? So I think I accidentally manifested it, and all these real estate jobs were just coming my way. My mum even told me that I should do real estate when I told her that I wanted to move to Dubai. But being a real estate agent in Dubai is 100% commission-based. And there is just no way in hell I'd want to do a commission-only role, especially when I'm new to the country, especially when I'd never done it before. No. Recruiters were finding me on Instagram because I would tag Dubai every now and then. And finally, I said, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. And I had researched Dubai real estate. I knew it was competitive. I knew it was cutthroat. And at this point, it was November. So I interviewed with one of the top 5 real estate companies in Dubai. And of course, I got the job to start in January of 2024. So I started the job, met some really cool people, and that's when I learned about monthly rentals. So going back to the topic of accommodation, monthly rentals will definitely work out cheaper than Airbnbs. And so I started doing that from January this year until I was ready to move out and get myself a yearly rental. There's a few places you can find monthly rentals. You can look at Beirut, Dubizzle, Property Finder. There's also companies like Frank Porter. You can also reach out to the top real estate companies. They always have their own short-term rental departments. And you can also reach out to Facebook groups where they do a lot of house sharing. Personally, that's just not something that I can do. I just cannot live with strangers. So that was definitely not an option for me, but I do know people that have done it and it works for them. So if it works for you, it works for you. Now, there's pros and cons to most jobs, and personally, real estate was just not for me. Merlin was just not meant to be a real estate agent. But somehow, I actually stayed for 6 months. I met some really cool people. I learned a whole lot about the property market in Dubai. I learned so many new skills. And ultimately, I found myself something else, something better that came along my way, all through the power of networking. Follow along for more about my journey, where I'll be telling you all about my new role, how to drive in Dubai, general expenses, and more tips on how you can move to Dubai.